What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Level 7 and the Beyond Invincible show, your favorite Invincible after show in the universe. I am your host, TJ aka Fat Thor, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, as always, Sean Mott, and our fearless leader, TJ Zwarych. But this week, we are joined by a very special guest, one of my very good friends, and probably the biggest Invincible fan I know, Ricky Z. Ricky, how you doing, my friend?
Hi, I'm doing good.
I'm so glad to have you on the show, dude. Like I said, you are a fellow student of the Book of Mark.
We just lost your audio, my man.
Oh, okay, I wasn't alone.
No, no. You're gone, bro. In the meantime, while he figures that out, do us a favor and hit the like button so we can afford proper audio. And
Okay.
Subscribe. He's back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear anybody else.
Oh,
what? Oh.
TJ, take over real quick while I get this sorted.
Will do. Hit the like button so we can, afford proper AV equipment and things like that. And we got some fun stuff coming up in the meantime for you guys. I just earlier this week had my interviews with the creative team for Maul Shadowlord. And so those are going to be dropping over the next couple of days. We will, of course, be covering the first 2 episodes of that series next week on Monday. Tuesday, we'll be talking about episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. And I can't wait to dive into this second half of this season because it's so good. It's so good. And so I'm really looking forward to talking some Daredevil over the next few Tuesdays. Plus, we got some really exciting guests for it too. Next week, we are going to be chatting with MCU Reign of Marvel Studios co-author Dave Gonzalez. He's going to be joining us to talk some Daredevil Born Again. And then the week after, we have the composers of the score and theme song, the Newton Brothers, coming to hang out with us live to talk about Daredevil Born Again, episode 5. So some really fun stuff coming for Daredevil. Then, of course, Invincible every Wednesday. Thursdays, we got the Comic Corner and some more interviews en route as well. So hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your pods as well. Shout out to all of our new podcast listeners. I don't know what it is, but the podcast feed's going crazy lately. And so I appreciate all our new subscribers. Welcome. Hit us up on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. If there's something like, hey, this show is so good, you guys got to be covering it, I want to hear about it on the pod, let us know. You can even email me if you want. You can email me, TJ@agentsofandom.com. You let me know. And we got you covered over here at Agents of Fandom. Let's dive right into a Whatcha Watchin, which, for those who don't know, for Ricky, we just like to start off with a little, we're obviously going to be talking mainly about Invincible, but what else are you watching or listening to or reading, playing on video games in your downtime? Because we got a lot of people in this community who share similar interests. So sometimes we get to open our eyes to something new. What you been watching?
Man, I have been watching almost nothing. I'm so far behind on everything. I'm getting a mix of happy and sad hearing you talk about Daredevil because I didn't watch the first season. And then I was like, holy cow, the second season's coming out. And my kids are out of town. So my wife and I are planning to binge that over the next 2 days, which once we're done with work, it's just going to be like, let's just sit down and watch it. So yeah, I mean, I guess most recently I watched some movies I didn't care about, just because, again, hanging out without the kids. And I've read a handful of things, catching up on some older stuff, little bits of refreshers of Invincible. I was reading a Superman collection that I got for Christmas, but yeah, otherwise I'm just so far behind.
Test, Mr. Fat Thor. Can we hear you? What you been watching?
I'm back. I don't know what the hell happened. My mic just completely disappeared. But honestly, same thing. We talked about this last year. Obviously, Invincible, because we talk about it every week. Paradise, which no more because it's over, but absolutely awesome. And obviously Daredevil as well, which I still need to watch last night's episodes, unfortunately. But love the first one. Love the first one. So we'll see how it goes.
It only gets better. Each episode is just like a step up from the last, and I can't wait to keep talking about this show every Tuesday. And yeah, you brought up Paradise as well. We are all done, but you can find our Paradise chats from the whole season up on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. Myself, Ryan Cortero, and Jam broke down each and every episode. We had a really fun time talking about the finale as well. Sean, what you been watching?
Like always, a lot, my friend. There's a new show on Netflix called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, produced by the Duffer Brothers of Stranger Things fame. They just produced, they didn't write or direct or anything like that. But if you're into slow burn horror, I watch this show. It's so creepy and unnerving. And if people can have an attention span longer than 2 seconds and watch this show and take in the story it's telling, it's a really good show. It reminds me of like the Mike Flanagan Netflix stuff, like Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass. It's not as good as those, but those are pretty top tier, perfect stuff in my book. But still a very good TV series that I think more people should be checking out. Got really pretty good reviews from a lot of the major outlets and social media. Collider gave it a 9, which is crazy. I wouldn't give it a 9, but you know, Collider's very harsh on things nowadays. So that was surprising to see. Jam will love this. I watched Goat, the Sony animated movie. Really just a fun, like, good-hearted animated movie. I dug it quite a bit. And then what was the other movie? The Mike and Nick and Alice, the new Hulu movie starring James Marsden, Vince Vaughn. Has some time travel stuff in it, but it's not super time travel-y. And that's the only thing I want to say about it, other than who's in it. Go watch that movie. It did have this style in it where some scenes, especially like wide action scenes where they'd zoom out on the action, were this really weird low frame rate thing for some reason. And I hated that because I was like, oh, maybe it was my I thought it was like buffering the first time it happened or something. I'm like, why does it look like this? And then it happened like a million times throughout the movie. And I was like, I hate this choice, but everything else, it takes a time travel trope that could be tired. And the way they use it, I think, is very smart. And just what a weird time to be a James Marsden fan. By weird, I mean really good time. Because obviously, Paradise, he's not in it a lot, but he's still in it. He's in this movie. He's in the new season of Your Friends and Neighbors, which I will have a review up for tomorrow. Shameless plug on the Agents of Fandom website. And then I can finally talk about it. I can't talk about it yet. So tomorrow, you'll see how I feel about it. And then obviously in Avengers Doomsday. Like, this dude is everywhere now. It's crazy. Good for James Marsden, I guess. And then I talked last week about the insane amount of weekly TV shows I'm watching. One I really want to bring up that I just listed last week, DTF St. Louis. It stars Jason Bateman, Linda Cardellini, and David Harbour. Watch this show. It's on HBO. Every week it gets better and more interesting. And it's such a weird and funny and mysterious show that I think not enough people are talking about. But that's it. I'll leave it at that.
I love how you had to specify for the Duffer one that they did not direct or write it.
Not as a bad thing, but people
no, I know.
And they think did everything else. I don't know. It's like produced by Jordan Peele, and they're like, "Oh, it's a Jordan Peele movie." I'm like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, I'm just making fun because of all the shit about the Stranger Things final.
I mean, they put that front and center in the marketing, produced by Duffer Brothers, like as a selling point, obviously. So I don't think people really care. Whatever. Who cares?
Well, speaking of great, not finals, but great shows, Invincible episode 5. I feel like I've said this probably a million times at this point over the last 3 years, but I think this might be my favorite episode so far, because obviously we have more of the season to go. But as always, let's start spoiler-free reactions to this episode. Ricky, I want to start with you first because, like I said, you are a big fan of the Invincible comics. I obviously had to dip because of mic issues, so I'm not sure if you talked about this already, but being a fan of the comics like myself, I really am interested to see to hear your perspective on the show, what you're thinking of the show, and like how they're changing things around. So, what did you think about episode 5? Because it does follow the comics pretty close, but we get a lot of new kind of dynamics here.
Yeah, I think it there's like I guess a comfort when the people who are changing it are the people who made it in the first place. It makes it a little bit, you don't have the whole debate on if they're being loyal to the fandom or whatever, or if they're being loyal to the characters and their original stuff, because it's the same people who made the comics. So I think that frees me up mentally to not care about so many changes. I think it's really hard, like especially like the Marvel stuff and DC stuff, where you get really wrapped around the axle about stupid crap I cared about when I was 12, and I'm like, why aren't they doing it that way? Meh. But you know, with Invincible, since Kirkman's doing everything, it makes it much easier to just sit back and kind of watch. And so far, I've liked. I don't think there's been any changes that I just didn't like. Um, I don't care about Damien Darkblood, but other than that, like I mean, like the changes to or like little tweaks that they've made have, I feel like, have been good. I don't think there's been anything that has hindered the story at all that I can think of back through now. I can't believe we're in season 4. That's kind of crazy to me that it's been able to go that far so quickly. I feel like we waited forever for it, and now we're in 4 of them already. But yeah, I mean, I might be with you. I think this episode might have been the best one of this season so far. But it's probably gonna be like the comics, right? That seems to be what they're doing. Is everything is just more intense and pulls you in deeper. And the moment you think there's a break, there's not, and you're just like, "Wow, that one was better than the last one." And then the next episode happens, and your mind blows.
Yeah, for sure. And Mark definitely experiences that at the end of this episode. TJ, what do you think of episode 5? Sean's face.
Agreed 100% best of the season so far. It not only was like it had everything, right? Like it was a big plot episode. It was kind of the launch point to our Viltrumite war here. It really sets us off. And then we also get some incredible emotional moments. Like everything we had been hoping for to get out of the certain reunions. I forgot we were keeping it spoiler free for a second. Certain reunions were just phenomenal. Were really strong, a really emotional episode, and I thought they hit those beats really well. And then finishing it off with some fun action too. Like it was kind of, it had it all. So 10 out of 10 episode, really.
Sean, what do you think? 10 out of 10?
Yeah. It was thinking as I was rewatching it, I was thinking about how most shows would have like half of this episode in one episode. You know what I mean? It would be like a very strong emotional episode, or it'd be a very strong action episode. And what this show pulls off, especially in this episode, combining all the things, there's even a middle part where it's like a fun space adventure starting. You know what I mean? Like there's like a sense of whimsy. There's everything in this episode, and only very few shows can pull off something like this, and they do it so well. And it's crazy that we had episode 4 before this, because obviously we already talked about it. It was kind of like a unconventional episode in Invincible where not a lot happens all at once, and maybe too much happens in this episode at once. Not too much, but like a lot a lot happens. It's a very strong, impactful, emotional, brutal episode that, seriously, the ending, the first time I watched it, my jaw was on the floor at the ending. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, how is this happening? Why? Crazy episode. So good.
I 100% agree with all you guys, and I just love hearing like your guys' reaction to it as well, because it's like that's exactly how I felt reading the comic, and it's just so cool to see that the show is able to translate that to new viewers that have never read the comic and still give that same kind of shock and feeling. And it's one of my favorite things of the show. And let's get into some spoilers. So spoiler alert for everyone out there. If for some reason you wanted to just tune in for the first couple minutes to hear our, basic thoughts.
And
But
if you did, we appreciate
yes,
you.
thank you. We love you and we appreciate you. But starting off this episode, we're going back to something we talked a lot about, episode 3, I think, because like you said, last episode, we were just in hell the whole time. But we get a lot more of Nolan facing the consequences of his actions. Again, something we talked a lot about in episode 3. We see him reunion with Mark, and it, doesn't go terrible, I guess, but not the way he wants it to go. And we also get probably, I think, my favorite. It's hard to say because, like we said, this episode's 10 out of 10, but maybe my favorite scene of the episode with Nolan trying to apologize to Debbie. And that's where I want to start off first, because I talked about it before. Nolan gets off very easy in the comic. He kind of gives a half-ass apology, and then it's just kind of all good. Here, Debbie does not let him off easy at all. She straight up gives him the shit. I love the when she's punching him in the chest and just like completely letting go. I thought just such a more genuine genuine showing of grief. And in the book, she's just like sad and crying, but here she's rightfully pissed. And I just absolutely love that. Again, Nolan isn't gonna just get everyone's forgiveness so easily. Ricky, I'm gonna start with you again, because again, coming from the comic, I'm sure you remember this part in the book. And I want to know, do you feel kind of the same way as me? I've talked about it before. I've always felt, even when the first time reading the comic, that Nolan gets off pretty easily with all the crap that he had done. So did you feel that way? And do you, like I said, how did you feel about him really having to face these consequences and own up to what he did to Debbie?
I think that I do want to go back and reread. I know I was thinking that during the episode that, man, I'd like to go back and just kind of just certain scenes I want to read back through. And I know the Debbie stuff in the comic I also liked, and it's kind of nice because now we have like two versions that separately are representing really the way two different people would react. And my memory of how Debbie handled it the first time was, like you said, just it kind of like they brushed over and Debbie was sad, drinky Debbie, and then she recovered and everything's great. And she was, I think, for a lot of people, a top-notch character comic book wise too, and it's carrying over to the show but in a different package. And it felt like in my memory, I kind of gave the comic like, oh yeah, we got things to do, so we're not going to dwell too much on Nolan making amends. It's certainly not the most implausible thing out of all the ridiculous things that happen in comic books. Moving on, but I definitely like that it's like a real couple, other than like the mass murder and all of that. But like in reality, a husband couldn't do any of the things that were done. A father couldn't do any of the things that were done and roll back into a house with a stable woman in it if she wasn't off base somehow mentally. Like there's no way that a rational thinking stable adult would just be like, yeah, it's fine, moving on, and there wouldn't be any kind of consequences or fallout from what he did. I like that they're getting into that more. I think that it helps you see change, especially in a show where you don't get to use your imagination as much. I think it's helpful. I like how it's going so far.
Yeah, 100% agree. TJ, what did you think? Again, we talked about all this a lot in episode 3, but again, we see a lot more of this, especially with people that are a lot closer to Nolan. Before, it was just kind of like, yeah, I did this to this planet, whatever. But these are people that Nolan actually, at least now cares about.
This was, I think, my favorite scene in the whole episode. I thought it was just so great, and it really puts all the pieces together not all the pieces together, but it's a crucial piece in Nolan actually having like a proper real redemption arc, because we talked about this a lot over in our first pod about the first 3 episodes. Just because he's ready to change doesn't mean the people around him are ready for him to be around. He caused so much trauma and so much pain that just because he's ready to be a good guy now doesn't mean that everybody else is over all of those things that he put them through. And so it was kind of like we had talked about, like, do we believe that Nolan is actually on a good path and capable of redemption? Yeah, absolutely. Like, he seems to be putting in those steps. But one of the biggest steps is when you go to those people that you hurt and they're not ready to forgive you. They say, fuck you, you hurt me. Accepting that. Because if they're not ready to forgive you, there's nothing you can do about that other than continuing on this path you're on and giving them time. And so it, to me, kept Nolan on the redemption path arc. And hell yeah to Debbie for, like, we had still said to him, like, he's got some penance to do still. Just because he's ready to do good, or somewhat at least, that doesn't make up for everything that he has done. He needs a couple kick in the nuts still. And shout out Debbie for wounding him probably more than any fight he's ever been in ever has.
Yeah, I love the subtle little symbolism of her blood, like right over his heart. Like, not only is this breaking his heart seeing Debbie so upset, but also just like he will always have the blood of all these people on his hand. Like, he's stained with all the terrible things he's done. Sean, do you got anything else to add for Nolan and his, like TJ said, his redemption arc?
Yeah, I mean, you guys put it pretty perfectly, to be honest. It is such a strong, impactful scene, and it feels so real to see how she reacts to him trying to apologize. And I think the one thing that bothered me, and it bothered me because of Nolan trying to be better. And it's not the writing that bothered me, it's Nolan, what he's doing as a character is bothering me a little bit. Him kind of trying to walk back on calling Debbie a pet. He pretty clearly said,
yeah, he's like, I didn't mean it.
I think maybe he meant it, and he's trying to like be this stuff is new to him, so maybe he's really in his mind he's probably like, I don't think of it that way now looking back at it. I think that's what he really means. And the whole thing of him talking about what's the name of the Thraxon wife, Oliver's mom, real
Andressa.
mom, birth mom? Andressa. Okay, it wasn't Andressa. I was unsure. And being like, she didn't matter, and it's like,
yeah, dude,
I think you're lying. It did matter. You don't need to walk back. Like, those things like that are showing that he's still, I mean, obviously he's flawed, but it's kind of things where you can tell he's still learning. And there's like little subtle details like that I think are so smart writing wise. But at the same time, like, Nolan, stop, don't lie, be more honest. Like, but it is very cool to see him try and make amends. And like what TJ said, he did. I'm sure this is not the outcome he wanted, but he did accept that he's like, there's nothing I can do here right now. I tried, it did not work, and it makes sense why it didn't work. I gotta go. And that was it's a big move, you know. And it's like, I love what Debbie said. It's like, you think you're gonna fix everything with your superpowers, and him realizing that no, I can't fix everything with these powers. Everything I have is, you know, because of it, but it's also the cause of all these problems and all these hardships that now he has to try and make amends for this whole time. But like, what an incredible scene. Yeah, shout out to Debbie. I love that you talked about the blood stain over his heart when you see it from like his perspective looking down on it. That was a great shot. That was an incredible shot. Good stuff.
And I think too, like you said, it's like we see this with Art as well, where we get another, you know, he tries to apologize with Art, and, you know, he doesn't let him off, you know, necessarily easy either, but he just like flies off. And I think to your point, that Nolan just doesn't, he genuinely does not know how to react to these things. Like, he has never been faced with anything that he can't just like punch its head off and like just end it. Like, the entire Viltrumite culture is built on dealing with any kind of conflict with brutal murder. So I think he just like, which to me also shows he is genuinely changing, because he just does not know how to respond to this. And so he's like, I'm out of here. And well, I want to touch on this since we're talking about Andressa and his stupid, that's like just stupid guy male. Like, when I was seeing him like trying to scramble, I'm just like, oh brother, man, like, come on. This is like the worst thing you could possibly be saying in this moment.
I'll keep it like super, super vague. But there is a moment in the season 2 finale of Paradise when our protagonist, who is framed as like the most like honorable and straight up good guy in the whole show, and he's met with the crossroad of like, hey, who's that, about a woman, about his past, and he just, oh, that's my therapist.
Yeah, same
About,
exact
like,
reaction. I'm like, oh brother,
not
man,
untrue,
come on.
not untrue, but a little bit more to it than that. One thing I wanted to touch on about that art scene really quick before we move on from it.
Yes, please.
I thought that was so cool the way they did it, with like Art is standing there brave, talking to Nolan man to man as peers, being like, dude, we're not cool. I can't do this for you. And the second Nolan flies away, he breaks. That face is gone. He starts almost hyperventilating.
Mhm.
He was terrified. And I thought that was really cool the way they portrayed that.
Well, I mean, he killed the Guardians and they were his friends. So, I mean, I'm sure Art is like fully expecting him to punch, like I said, punch his head straight off. And Ricky, really quickly, I want to get your thoughts on this, the scene with Art too, because this is another not drastic change, but slight change from the book, because Art in the book is kind of team Omni-Man all the way. The scene that they referenced last episode where he's talking to Mark, he's like, you know, your dad, you know, he did some bad stuff, but he's a good guy. Like, that was the act. Like, he was just pretending to be bad. And so, Ricky, what did you, like I said, I personally really loved this scene that Art does kind of stand up to Nolan. What did you think?
Oh yeah, and I think in the comic books, in fairness, and I maybe isn't totally accurate, but how I always kind of took it is Art wound up being right about it, in that Nolan kind of forced himself to stick with the Viltrumite way,
Mhm.
even though he was being earthed up, I guess. I don't know how you would he's being humanized. There you go. There's already a word that exists, dummy. Anyway, but yeah, I think the art scene might have been, it was definitely one of my favorites of the episode. I think in regular life interactions, it's tough for a lot of people to confront somebody, and not even to confront, but to react and be truthful. If somebody kind of puts you in a corner and asks you something and you got to deal with it, and you don't want to lie. And it's hard for a lot of people to be honest when they're kind of up against a wall, especially with a friend. I'm usually more honest with my friends, but like a lot of people struggle with that, and it's even more ramped up, obviously, because he could kill him without really thinking about it. I thought they did a really good job with that, and I thought the what did he say? I only dress heroes. The line was like probably the best one in the episode.
Dude, just twisting that
yeah,
knife
because
of
it's like,
guilt,
I
man.
mean, they did a great job throughout the episode with Nolan's facial expressions to really kind of show, like, he just was getting kind of slowly gut punched over and over and over, which is fair. Actually, it's really still not fair. It's not enough, but he's been getting confronted with a lot of things, and to hear what seemingly would be his best friend for humans say that is, I thought they did a really good job. And I like the hyperventilating thing after, because he probably was getting ready to crap his pants. That was
I think
good.
he did. I think that was him releasing
That's why
it.
Omni-Man flew off so fast. It was getting...
Yeah, he's like, oh. But I want to stick on this point really quickly because we mentioned how Omni-Man just completely screwed up his apology to Debbie mentioning Andressa. But there's another new scene for the show, and another thing I love is with Oliver. We get this scene which also Mark is recruited for the Viltrumite War, which, obviously he doesn't really have a choice. But we then get a scene of Oliver, Mark, and Debbie all kind of meeting about what's about to happen and like how Mark has to go. And Oliver, again, we talked about this. He's getting a lot more of a character arc here, and I love he stands up for himself here because they want to leave him behind, but he's like, hell no, dude. He's like, I fought Conquest. I fought like 100 alternate versions of you, so I have every right to go just as much as you do. And he mentions how he wants to save Debbie because he didn't have the opportunity to save his birth mother, and that. It didn't blow my mind like, oh my, but it blew my mind in that they added this whole dynamic for Oliver, because again, that's new for the show, but it just really, it gives him so much more of a reason to be there. And for people who may not remember, because Oliver is Thraxan, he remembers every single minute of his life. So like the death of his mother and his whole planet while he was a baby, like that's not just some story that Mark has told him. He remember, that's like a core memory for him. So I think it was just so smart to add that in and again give Oliver a real reason to be in this fight. Sean, what did you think of this scene, and also just them having a discussion at all about this?
I thought it was great and made total sense. And again, another point for Oliver being awesome and TJ being wrong for saying Oliver is a shit.
Ricky, back me up. Oliver is kind of a shit in the comics, right? Like he's kind of a
could not
shit.
stand him in the comics.
Yes,
but then he came around later. But all my memories were like, ugh, I hate this little turd.
See, I told you, Sean. It's not just me. But continue. I know. I'm sorry.
I like giving you shit for it. Okay. Oliver's awesome. I love Oliver so much. He's such like I don't know. It's crazy how much of like a kid he is, but he says things that you're like, wow, that's really mature. Which again, I know part of his race is that he obviously like ages much faster and his frame of life is very much different, like you explained. But what a great scene, and what a cool thing for Debbie to be like, after him saying something that makes so much sense and is so profound for a kid to say. She's like, okay, just look out for each other. You know what I mean? And then obviously another big L, which I'm sure we're going to get more into for Nolan this episode, not even seeing the kid. Damn, bro.
At least he didn't try to kill him. Like,
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he got off the bar. He got off a lot luckier than Mark did. I'll say that.
Take the win.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, different kinds of trauma, but still not great, not good. But that was good. And then to add to TJ's point, one sidestep for Paradise, I kind of wish he called back the line, yeah, we got a lot to catch up on. At that moment that you were talking about. That would have been pretty good. But yeah, this scene was awesome. I love this. I love the family dynamic of the Graysons. I think it's so beautiful and so great. And hearing all the differences, I think are so awesome. That's so cool. This is a completely new thing to the show. Yeah. And just the chances they're taking to make these characters just better than what they were when they initially wrote them, I think is so cool and such a testament to how things can be changed in adaptations from medium to medium. It's amazing. It's good stuff.
Yeah, in the book, Nolan just like, pack your bags, kid, we're going to space. And he's like, woo! TJ, what did you think of, again, this whole kind of family meeting about them, basically probably going to their deaths in space?
The Oliver speech to Mark was so great, especially the line like you guys already talked about, I couldn't protect my birth mom, so I need to protect Debbie, my new mom, whatever it was he finished it with. But did you really fight Conquest already? Did you really do too much in the Invincible War? Bro, you got your ass kicked both times. You almost died.
To be fair, season 1 Mark continuously got his ass beat too.
For sure. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't know that, like, personally, if I'm trying to, like, throw out a resume for why I should be going, I don't know if I'd be like, remember that time I almost died?
Remember the time
I
I got
could totally
bitch slapped
fight
by
way more of those
Conquest?
guys.
He did technically attend the fight.
Yeah, he was present.
Was there?
With his jaw on the freaking floor.
I don't know. It's like the Bulls lost by like 40 the other day, and I wouldn't talk
Oh,
about
dude,
that game.
Don't talk
so
about it, Ricky.
I would
Don't
just-
mention the
I'm-
Bulls, Ricky.
I like what
Come
TJ
on.
said. I would just keep that off my resume and probably not talk about it.
He got like a little check mark on his name, present, but definitely like it doesn't inspire confidence for the future war. But like it was a really nice moment. I just kind of wanted to make light of the fact that like those fights didn't exactly go well for him.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, he should have brought up fighting that dragon in episode 2 or whatever, because he did pretty good there.
True.
100%.
Ricky, again, this is different from the comics and gives Oliver a lot more to do. And also, Debbie is also not involved in this decision making at all in the comics as well. So, what did you think of, again, bringing both Oliver and Debbie into this and making this like a decision as a family, as opposed to, again, Oliver and Mark just like, all right, let's go to space.
I really like it. I think, like was already mentioned, it makes Oliver much more bearable. He's much more enjoyable in the show. And I still like the character in the comic books. I just like, it's like you like the character, but he annoys the crap out of you kind of thing. Like Andy on The Office. I can't stand him, but I also enjoy that he's on the show. It's kind of anyway. But Oliver in the show is much more just like, I actually like him. And he might get second best line of the episode with what he said to Debbie. I think it's really neat to watch. I can't remember, Sean or TJ said it. It was something about like his maturity and seeing him. He's still a little kid, goofy teenager with his like angsty stuff and his weird excitability, but then also like weirdly adult, which makes sense considering I think he's like 1 right now. He's like only like a year old or whatever he is.
He's very Robin coded.
Yeah,
like not necessarily one of them specifically, but there's a lot of Damian Wayne in him. There's a lot of young Dick Grayson in him.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Jason Todd in him.
It's like all the things you like about all the Robins put into one guy, kind of.
Yeah,
and the more he grows, the more he gets all of those. Because at the beginning, he's very like early little shit Damian Wayne.
Yeah,
which I also did not like him.
Why I didn't like him
too. So yeah, great parallel there.
Yeah,
Murder is fine.
What'd you say?
Murder is fine.
Yeah,
it's very
Murder is fine. My grandpa said so.
Cool.
Yeah, Grandpa Ra's al Ghul told me it's cool.
I did love when Oliver was like, "Oh, with the dragon," when he's like, "Oh, am I gonna have to? We're not gonna kill anyone, right?" My mom would be really upset.
Yeah, like man, if I murder again, Mom's gonna be so mad.
I feel like Titan did not react to that appropriately.
I'm not gonna be able to play my Pokemon Game Boy game for a week if I kill another person.
She said no murder.
Yeah. Titan knows the deal, man. He knows what's up. Another thing we got to talk about. We're running close on time here, so try to make this quick so we can get to the big thing at the end of this episode. But Tech Jacket is a girl? What? We get awesome introduction of Tech Jacket. We've seen her in the Invincible War, but now it is officially confirmed that Tech Jacket is a girl, as opposed to being a guy, obviously, in the comics. Now, I'm sure people watching this, I'm sure there's a lot of stupid discussions online about this, but I will just quickly say, I think that this is a great change for Tech Jacket. Not going to claim to be an expert on his solo comics, but in the scheme of his role in Invincible, he's really just kind of there as backup. And so we see this in a little bit, but making Tech Jacket a girl, I think, not only makes the team of the coalition not as much of a boys club because it is all dudes in the comic, but we see that, you know, there's a little sparks there with her and Oliver. So I think that is a cool way to give both of them a new and interesting story arc for the show. Ricky, I'll stick with you on this one. Not sure if you're well versed in the Tech Jacket comics, but what did you think about this change? And again, not necessarily like, oh, you know, she's a girl now, but again, do you think that this will allow her to have a little bit more to do in the show?
I'm pretty indifferent to it. I don't know that the character's gender was significant to the original Tech Jacket enough. Like, even in like adaptations in general, there's always, everybody who's watched any MCU movie for the last like 10 years knows there's going to be some kind of debate on whether you should have swapped whatever with anybody. A little different when the guy who made the original says, this is what I'm doing. And again, unless it's like integral to the storyline, who cares if it's not like, hey, very specifically this person, because Galdarian technology only works on guys or whatever it is. Like, I don't care. It seems fine. And I mean, again, if Kirkman, like if I was in Kirkman's shoes, I think he mentioned this in a previous interview that like they were going to do some changes that as time went on, he had kind of wished were things he did in the first place. I would do the same thing if it was my stuff and I was making it and I had an opportunity to like tweak something that I wish I'd done different. Why wouldn't I do that? I would do the same thing. So if that's what he wanted to do, whether it was to split at the boys club or it was to just mix it up because he wanted to get some of the more like teen girls that are watching the show interested, I don't know, but it's his choice and it seems to be just fine. I like the little relationship with her dad. And he was just totally opposite of what you'd expect with any superhero, right? I mean, there's probably a few, but like any comic or movie or whatever, the superhero parents are always like, no, you can't do that. It's too much. Why does it always have to be you? And her dad's like, whatever, sounds good. It's like going to softball practice or something. It's just,
like how
I liked that.
Certain adaptations of Aunt May now in like various animated shows are like making her basically Alfred.
Yeah,
she knows everything. She's got the gadgets secured and she's like ready to help out. But to Ricky's earlier point about like if Kirkman thinks it's a good idea for this show, it's probably a good idea for this show. When the creator's so heavily involved, it's like this I have always kind of compared this to Percy Jackson and the Olympians in this adaptation. Rick Riordan, the author of those books, very heavily involved, and he said in an interview like, I'm better at this now. I'm a better storyteller. I'm a better writer than I was 20 years ago when I wrote this first book. And I feel like that's likely the case for Kirkman too. Like he's just simply a better storyteller now than he was at the beginning of his career.
100%. And like Ricky said, Kirkman has openly admitted this. We talked about it in one of the previous episodes, but yeah, he deliberately is using the show as an opportunity to add a little bit more diversity, give the women characters specifically a lot more to do and a lot more urgency. Sean, what did you think of Tech Jackets? Like I said, we've seen her before, but this is like her like kind of big introduction for her role moving forward.
Yeah, it's a cool character. Obviously, I could care less if it's any gender. Who cares? It's fine. Character's cool and funny, and I like the little. I'm guessing that's a hint for what's to come between her and Oliver, possibly. We'll see, I guess. But her suit is also really cool. Of how we'll see it more. Like maybe we'll talk about it more. I don't know. But like during the fight, like when stuff gets damaged, it like repairs itself. She just kind of waited out, but it's kind of like a cool and terrible ability at the same time. Because for one, you're kind of defenseless and just like, I'm just floating here. But at the same time, if it didn't repair itself, you'd just be fucked. So it's cool, but it's also kind of debilitating at the same time. But yeah,
man, I'd be freaking out so hard if I was just blind floating in space.
And there's like 7 Viltrumites coming at you from every angle.
Yeah, just like don't move. And you're like, okay, I guess.
Yeah,
Cool.
Tech Jacket's kind of like, at least how I think of her, kind of like a cross between like Blue Beetle, Green Lantern, and like a little Iron Man,
Man.
dashed in there. But we unfortunately we're running close on time, so we have to skip over the big family goodbye, which is another one of my favorite scenes of this episode.
Aw.
Again, kind of goes along all the points that we already talked about with just bringing everyone more in the fold. And I also still don't trust Paul. I'll say that.
Paul sucks.
Yeah, Paul sucks. I don't trust Paul. He's said, shout out Jam. I'll say this really quickly because again, unfortunately, we have to move on. Shout out Jam. We were talking about this earlier, and he was brought the idea that what if he was a spy for Cecil, which I have been talking about how I don't like Paul for years now, but I never thought of that, and I love it. But
Sean, I think Paul's giving Bob Newby.
Yeah, he's just a nice guy.
no,
And in
no,
real
man.
life, I would love Paul. I'd be like, Paul's the guy. Go with Paul. But I've read, you're in the comics. You're like, forget Paul. Move on. Let's go.
Yeah. Like I said, he's in like 3 issues. He's like a nothing character. So the fact that he's getting so much to do here, I'm on Paul watch. But
Nothing tried and true like a comic book geek hating a character named Paul.
Exactly. we never trust a Paul. Never trust a Paul in comic books, especially Spider-Man.
Ugh.
But the big part of this episode, what Sean was absolutely floored by, that he was talking about earlier, everyone goes to space and we get a little bonding moment, but then we get the return of Conquest. We obviously saw him escape Cecil's captivity in episode 1, 2, 3, whichever one that was. And I mean, you thought the first fight with him was brutal. Goddamn. This is just all out warfare. Everyone's fighting Viltrumites. And it results in Invincible / Mark Grayson basically just choking the life out of him. And before he goes out, Conquest just starts ripping his guts out, like gives him the classic Viltrumite gut punch. And I mean, devastating, absolutely devastating. Like we said at the top of this, it shocked me just as much as it did the first time reading it. It's almost a play-by-play, but the addition of Stephen Yeun's voice acting, him like gasping for air, and just like the gross, like slushy sounds of his gut, like, oh man, it was insane. Ricky, what again? There a lot happens here. It's a big battle, but did it do the same for you as it did in the comic? Was it even more intense? Like I said, for me it was a little bit even more intense.
Probably because of all the gut pulling was probably a little more intense. I think Stephen Yeun's his voice specifically, like his yelly, like strained yelling. I don't know what to call that, but whenever he does that, where his voice kind of like cracks, he's so good at it. And it just, when it was happening on the episode, I'm like, that sounds like, I don't know. It's like makes a difference in the show. But yeah, it was at least as intense as the comic books. And then, I don't know, I guess when you mix like a human with a Viltrumite, it makes your intestines even longer. I don't know, because it was just forever.
Miles.
Like he pulled like a pile fell out, and then he just kept digging in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just squishing and going forever. Yeah, it was intense. And I did like how they really still followed the sequence. There's certain things that like you like to see adapted, and it looks good, and there's nothing wrong. I'm good with keep it just the same, change it however you want. I like it the way they're doing it. And yeah, that was crazy. I really liked the overhead visual of them just cratering up this whole place. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, shout out Ryan Otley. He's the artist of the Invincible comic books, and they translate his splash pages and his art just so wonderfully in the show. Ricky, before we get to TJ's thoughts, better, what do you think? Was this fight better than Mark's first fight with Conquest?
Oh, different. I don't know if I'd call it better, because there's just certain elements, like having the Eve and Oliver piece in the first one makes it a whole different dynamic that is differently enjoyable. But then That sounds kind of sick with everybody getting hurt, but but then this one, like Mark's determination, I feel like there's so many drawn out, not silences because of the gross noises, but like extended silences where you're just sitting here in thought watching this happen. And I just kept thinking about how like he's at that point where he can't do anything but just squeeze, and he has to do it no matter what. And they're like showing his facial expressions, and he's just dripping with all sorts of nastiness. And no matter what happens, he just keeps just squeezing down. So that, I don't know. I'd give it a tie, but like different qualities.
Totally fair. And I just want to say too, I was not laughing at what you were saying while you were talking. I was just dying at TJ's comment to Jam here in the chat. TJ,
all kinds of intestinal jokes right now. Mark showed a lot of intestinal fortitude in this fight.
So funny.
And I we talked about how I've just very recently binged all of Game of Thrones for the first time. It was because I was really sick and just needed something to do. And that scene with Conquest is exactly what I felt like for a couple days. Someone just absolutely ripping all of my guts out. Yeah, it was gross. It was nasty. I think I like the first fight between them a little bit better, but it was, I'm like, yes, entertaining, but like also just like, oh God, poor Mark. Like, I haven't felt this bad for Mark since season 1. I don't think. But
it's like a different Mark too in this fight from the first one. Like the first one's like he's way in over his head, and this one he might still be, but he's like, I don't care. We're not gonna do this again. It's just it's different.
Yeah, it really is. And Vathor, I'll throw it back to you just so I want to make sure you get a chance to like plug where the people can find you and what you're working on before you got to bounce. And
yes,
I of course can close this out.
Yes, thank you so much. So obviously I said Conquest fight, absolutely amazing. Will Mark survive? I don't know. We'll find out next week. But I unfortunately have to run early. We got an interview for the Comic Corner. Shameless plug. You can catch every Thursday. You can follow me on, Twitter at the Fat Thor. Also, shameless plug. Go check out Heavy Spoilers for our breakdown of the episodes. And thank you again, TJ, for closing this out for us. Ricky, amazing to see you. I'll chat with you after the show ends. I'll send you a message. But everyone else, thank you. We'll see you. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Sean, we've already had Ricky Z, or as we call him in Canada, Ricky Zed, tell us that he's a sick man. He loves watching people's intestines get ripped out of their stomach. What were your thoughts on the scene and the fight as a whole?
Like I said earlier, I seriously, like my jaw was on the floor. And I think Robert Kirkman and Simon Rasiopa came out and said this season has the most brutal scene in the series so far. And I have to believe, I know TJ and I have seen the first 6 episodes, so we've seen the one after, but I would say this has to be the scene, unless there could be something crazier in the last.
I bet it's not.
But like this scene was so fucked up. Like, just because it's like, and it's funny. I don't think his intestines are longer because his invention might be the Invincible or a Twitter account posted this, which is hilarious. The small intestine of an adult is typical about 6 to 7 meters, 20 to 22 feet long, although it can range from 3 to over 10 meters, 10 to 34 feet, depending on the person and measurement method. So there's a lot of intestines to pull out.
He's a pretty skinny guy too. I don't know.
and they showed that there was a lot of intestines. An insane scene, absolutely insane. And then also seeing Oliver almost get his head squished again is so stressful. Like in your mind, you're like, okay, we're like nearing like halfway through the comics or something like that, or getting to like the halfway point or something like that.
Yeah,
so
you're
close. You're like the likelihood of like Oliver dying or obviously Mark dying feel pretty low, but still as you're watching it, you're like, what? It was like when the whole Eve thing happened with Conquest last season. I was like, does Eve die? I was like, I don't think so, but like, how do you survive that? It's like those kind of questions, like how even when these people like come back, they don't die, but like the stakes still feel real, even though in the rational part of your brain, they're like, they're not really gonna die, but like, whew, is brutal. This show is nuts.
Yeah.
And what they pull off is so cool. And yeah, this was absolutely crazy. And what a bummer that they had to leave Alan. You know, like his girl had to leave him. That's a bummer. You know, you see it weighing on her. It's sad.
She's just doing her job. She doesn't need to be sad.
I know. But still, that's her boo, dude. You're gonna be sad. She may have done the right thing. Doesn't mean she has to be happy about it.
Right. Did you guys both? Oh, whoops! I pushed something.
Sorry, Ricky. I just hit the mute for a sec because there was some feedback coming in there.
I was trying to.
But all good now.
Oh, okay. Did you guys both read the comics?
No.
Okay. I wasn't sure. It seemed like that's what other TJ was saying, was like he and I had read them and you guys hadn't. Okay, well, boy,
Yes.
howdy. It's going to be fun.
Here's my question to you, Ricky. I need to put you in a scenario, you know, close your eyes, really envision it. You are pregnant. You're pregnant with your first child, and your partner is going to fly away and fight in a very dangerous war on the other side of the galaxy. Do you tell them that you are pregnant?
So I'm going to have a hard time answering that, but it does. There's a note that I wrote down about this kind of, not me being pregnant so much, but I think the way that Kirkman has written the characters through the comics and in the show as well, he does such a good job of kind of showing the dynamic between couples, especially like younger couples or newly together couples, where there's just certain things that they're not being dishonest with each other in the traditional sense, but they're keeping things because they don't want to burden the other person. And I feel like, not that it's the right call, but especially when I was younger, I would have probably done what Eve did and kept it to myself. That is, I don't think the right call probably, but, and I think my wife probably would have done the same thing. If you know, like, it's like you're trying to protect your partner from that stress. And then all it does is like wind up crushing that person who's keeping it. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, yeah, I probably would have at one point in life, and I'd like to think now I would probably. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I was in a spot where it's like, I think I would want to know, and I was kind of expecting a line of like, and you better make sure you come back, because I can't raise this baby alone. Like I thought it was gonna be like something like that right before they go and just do something like real corny and silly like that.
Oh my
but
gosh.
Kind of, I feel like in those situations, right, where it's like when you're near death, any little thing that you can latch on to, like, I must keep going.
Yeah, to get you home. Yeah,
it's just like, to me, that adds just like one more little hit point.
Oh yeah,
to his health. You know what I mean? It's like a couple HP. Just added there. But what do you think, Sean?
This is such a complicated question. I was watching the Real Rejects react to this episode, and they brought up a really good point of how this mirrors when Mark was dating Amber and he went to space for the first time, and she was hiding things from him, of like how she really felt about things, and then later on and negatively impacted their relationship. And like, imagine this, okay? You're gonna go fly out in the space war that you don't really know if you're gonna come back alive or not.
No, I'm not flying out. I'm pregnant.
You're pregnant. I'm just thinking of it from Mark's perspective. Like, you win this war, you come back and there's a baby. I would be so pissed.
Yeah,
like so unmeasurably mad. And also, but if Eve did tell her and I was Mark, I would not go.
Yeah, that's what's tough. Like, I'm like a hypocrite about it because I would want to know, but I also wouldn't want to tell my wife or my, like, if I'm pregnant, I guess, switchies, whatever. But like, if I would want to know for sure, but I wouldn't want to put that on the partner at the same time.
I get why Eve didn't. tell him because
Yeah.
she knew if she told him, Mark's not going. There's no
So
way.
let's
now.
just hope that this teenage guy is mature enough to come home and handle it appropriately.
Well,
I-
the thing is, like, handling it appropriately is such a weird thing because, again, I understand why she withheld this information so he can go and do what she thinks, and it is important. Obviously, it's an important thing for Mark to do, and she doesn't want to take away from that or hinder his like ability to think straight. But at the same time, coming back to that, that is a betrayal. That is a big thing to hide from someone, even if the outcome was to do something good for them, quote unquote. That's a big thing to hold from someone. And what you can be like, oh, yeah, I found out after you left. Like, come on.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say I would have handled it right when I was their age, which is
For
roughly when I got married. I now the way that everything is it's just tell everything, just everything on the table always. And that makes you and your marriage goes much smoother that way. So yeah, that's what I would recommend now. I don't know if I would have when I was like 19.
I don't, know anything about the future of the show past episode 6, so I don't know if they successfully have this baby, and if they do, I love the idea of, I can see them doing something like, this is just me getting in theory corner. I don't want to know the answer either way, but I could see them for some reason having a child that has no powers. Like, it just didn't happen for some reason. But also, I could totally see their kid just being like Franklin Richards, or like, not that exact power set, but just like, this being was born and now they're the most powerful in the universe because they have the strength, endurance, and invulnerability of a Viltrumite, but also Eve-like powers where they can manipulate matter and things like that. Like, that would be wild, and I kind of hope they go that route.
I think I'm not going to say anything. I don't know that they're going to do obviously what happened in the comic books. I don't know that they'll do that. I think if they do, they handled it really well in the comic books. So I'm curious to see how things will play out here. But I like both your ideas. I think there's probably 5 or 6 options that are pretty cool little theories that I've heard out there. I had not heard the Franklin Richards idea. I don't know why that wouldn't have come up before. That seems like such a fun choice for a fan theory.
Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've the comics I've read only go into like parts of season 1. And I read it after I watched season 1, so I have no idea what's coming. I said it a few episodes ago, and I'm like, I don't know how the show is going to get crazier after the and then I'm like, but there's no way it doesn't. So I'm just here for the ride. I just see where it takes me.
I just keep coming back to that, like, oh, why am I forgetting his name? He's friend of the show, voice actor Ross Marquand.
Immortal.
Yeah, that Immortal episode from like the alternate future. He's running Earth. Mark's been gone. Everything's gone to shit. That to me is where I'm just like interested to see where this goes. Is like, is Mark Grayson going to become Goku, or is Mark Grayson going to become Paul Atreides, Anakin Skywalker? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm most interested in going forward after the Viltrumite War, I think.
Oh, I'm excited for you guys. Especially, I think some of the show is probably going to be better without having read the comics, because it's going to be stuff that either wasn't in the comics or it's such a huge, just crazy event that it'll be like way more shocking if you haven't read it. But at the same time, everything that's come up so far, I'm like, oh, no way. And it's even some of it you knew was coming, and it still is like, whoa, either I forgot or it's just like, oh, cool, they actually did that. I don't know. It never stops. The show, I assume, from here on out is all gas, no brakes until season whatever when they end the show.
Right. Sick. I'm so excited. I love the show. I think it's the best superhero show on TV. I really like Daredevil. Born Again season 2 has a really good start, but I don't think it's touching it.
I want to watch that so bad.
Buckle the fuck up, buddy. It's coming. It's coming. Sean, where can people find you on socials? Where can they find your work? What pieces do you have coming?
Yeah, you can find me at MetalCoreNerds everywhere on the social medias. You can check out the podcast anywhere you find podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff. I have Your Friends and Neighbors season 2 review. It's going to go up tomorrow night. Apple TV Plus, stars John Hamm. It's great. Season 1 is great. I mean, it's a really good show. If you haven't watched it, I suggest watch it. Catch up before season 2 starts. You got some time. Even though there's a million shows airing right now, I'm going to add another one to your plate. Deal with it. And that's it for now. I don't know. Obviously, Maul and the boys start next week. Stoked for that. And yeah, that's about it. Go subscribe to MetalCoreNerds on YouTube.
Is the boys already next week, or is that 2 weeks away?
Next week.
Shit, bro. I gotta start doing some planning. Ricky, if you want the people to find you on socials, where can they find you? Do you have anything you would like to plug? Soapbox is yours. What do you want to tell the people?
I don't currently have anything to plug at this time. I am on X, Twitter, Zwitter. I still like calling it Twitter. I don't care. And Instagram. Not as active currently as I have been in the past, but that'll probably tick up here in a little while. But yeah, I'm just hanging out.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show. It was a pleasure to have you on to talk Invincible. It's a pleasure to meet you. And we look forward to hopefully making it happen again here sometime in the future. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Hit the like button if you have not done so already, if you're watching us on YouTube. And make sure you follow the Agents of Fandom on socials, at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. And of course, subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on all the great content we have coming already out. We have our full season breakdown of Paradise Season 2. You can find my interviews for Daredevil Born Again Season 2. We talked to Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, as well as some of the creative team, Dario Scardopan and Sana Amanat. So you can check that out now on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. Plus, over the next couple days, we'll be dropping our Maul Shadow Lord interviews. We talked about how incredible Sam Witwer is. We talked about some of the lesser known, maybe Glup Shido type Star Wars characters that these creatives would want to build a series around if they had their druthers. And so it was a really fun chat. Stay tuned for that. And then, of course, Maul Shadow Lord, The Boys, Invincible, Daredevil Born Again, Comic Corner, content non-stop. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. On behalf of myself, Sean, TJ, aka Fat Thor, and Ricky, we will see you next time. Peace.